Hi there, Jason Leppert here for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here with Matt, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and what is your title and position?
So I am a senior creative executive for Lucasfilm.
Wonderful. Yeah, so this is really cool. So how is this design direction for the Starcruiser different and or similar from any other Star Wars project before it?
I mean, it's pretty vastly different because I don't think there's anything quite like this.
Sure.
I work on a lot of different Star Wars storytelling, from books and comics to video games and even VR.
Nice.
And so I know the sort of interactive space, but there's really nothing quite like making an actual 2-day real-world communal experience that people go through in their story the whole time. That you sleep in. We've never had to do that.
Right. That's awesome. So what are some specific elements that guests might recognize from the franchise?
Hopefully they recognize just about everything, because there is kind of a little bit of something from something for everyone.
Yeah,
on
something from the
ship.
Prequels all the way through the sequels.
And what I think is really cool is that because we have the trip to Batuu as part of it, you do kind of get to see both parts of Star Wars. You kind of get to see the high-end, glitzy, glamorous sort of Star Wars, and then you go to Batuu and you get the the more lived-in scoundrel side of Star Wars. And through your story, you kind of see how those things converge, just like in the prequels or just this sequel trilogy or the OT.
Yeah, I was going to ask that very thing, kind of like what was the balance between the grunge of Star Wars and sort of the higher end of Star Wars, and I think you've done a really good job marrying those two on board. Are there any specific elements that you can think of that are a good thing to look out for that?
I mean, the ship itself represents really the sort of high-end glamorous side.
And the story is that it's 275 years old, but it's been recently refurbished, right?
Yes, it's been through a lot.
Right.
So it comes from the High Republic era, which is a branch of storytelling that we're doing a lot in books and comics right now.
Okay. Yep.
Which that was sort of a prosperous time and a time of exploration in the galaxy. But it fell into hard times. It was owned by the Hutts for a while, so it was a bit of a casino ship. After that, the Empire took over, like they do, became sort of a retreat for kind of favored officers, bureaucrats, people that are on Palpatine's good side.
And all this backstory is in the comics and the book series?
So it was all developed for this experience because, when you're developing a ship that people are going to be on for 200 years, people are going to ask questions and we need to have answers. So it was all developed for that, but now it's starting to branch out into things. So we have the Halcyon Legacy comic series, which Marvel Comics is doing, which kind of tells an adventure sort of in each of the eras of the ship's history.
Right.
It's shown up in some of the High Republic storytelling, as I mentioned, and it's also, we recently announced The Princess and the Scoundrel novel, which takes place shortly after Return of the Jedi, and Han Solo and Princess Leia actually honeymoon on the Halcyon.
Nice, so it's canon, folks, there you go.
It is, and of course, Leia and Han can't not be Leia and Han, so
That's awesome.
Shenanigans ensue.
Well, the engineering room on board is very much like the Millennium Falcon, a little more of that grunge, but elsewhere on the ship it's super refined and it's very beautiful.
Exactly. The engineering room, the cargo bay, those are sort of the places where guests aren't supposed to get into, so you shouldn't have been there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
But all of the places where the guests are supposed to get to, definitely a little bit more cleaned up, but of course, your story can go a lot of directions, and you may end up in spaces where guests are not really meant to be.
Interesting. So would you say it almost has kind of an escape room vibe in certain parts of it?
To an extent. I mean, it's not puzzly in the way that an escape room is, but it's more of an interactive game, where you're basically, based on your choices, your interactions, your story will change and be different. So even based on what you're doing versus what someone else in your cabin is doing, you may have kind of divergent paths, and you may meet up at dinner and get to talk about, oh, I helped Chewie board. It's like, oh, you helped Chewie board. I was working on the other side of that. You may be working against each other. It's kind of fun.
Now, do you have any personal favorite experience that guests should be on the lookout for?
I mean, for me, it's really the best thing for me is both the character and crew interactions. This is the direct interactions with people, because it's so moving when you meet a Star Wars character, and a couple hours later they remember your name, they come up to you and they're like, Matt, I need your help. Come over here. And you end up getting swept away in a story, just like you're really in an adventure like that. So for me, it's interact with as many people as you can. And I'm kind of an introvert, so it's funny for me to be saying that. But they like,
no, I'm too. So
they bring you right into it. It's so fun, and
they do a great job.
They're so personable, and you just kind of take them as people.
Right. Well, so there you have it, folks. You can go on the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser and become a Star Wars character yourself. I've been Jason Leppert for Insider Travel Report.